Hello, this is Max Drake. I'd like to talk about this app here. Basically, it's this one's importing images. You could import video files, or you could import audio files, or some drawings and some other things, or PDFs. So if I just click on this on here, it will take me to the image. Doomph, and there is the image. And so that's what that's doing there. Now, I just want to stop this at this point in time and just go back to and do an amendment. In the first video that I actually did on the setup, I actually said that you needed a business account to set up a Honeycode account. And if you go in and you actually go to create account, when it comes to the email, it's got a little prompt in there which actually says business email. In fact, I got a comment from Jason Canales who actually said that you can actually log in with your personal account. And I actually just created an account with an email account. A Gmail account, and that worked fine. So just an update on that. So heading back to that image again, so how does that actually happen? At this point in time, I also want to step back again to actually look at some of the apps that I've actually built on things like Glide apps. And there's one that I actually want to do about a comparison between, I've got one which is actually basically a budgeting app in Glide, and I would like to do a similar one in Honeycode to do a comparison of speed for upload, because that one can be a little bit laggy, just the way that it operates. So it'd be interesting to just look at upload times. So when I was looking at the apps and suddenly thinking what I do, one of the popular apps, I was going to look at the popular apps that I've got on Glide and actually see if I can build them in Honeycode and see, just how easy or hard they are, and are they the right tools for doing those sorts of things. One of the apps that I actually was building was a reservation app. Now that's no good to build in Honeycode, because the Glide app, you can actually just give everybody the app, or they actually just basically link into a browser page type thing, so that you don't actually have to load an app up on theirs, and then they can actually fill in a request for a reservation at a certain point in time. So that's nice to do. What is an issue with that is you can't really do that in Honeycode, because you've only got the 23 people, and then suddenly, so trying to make that accessible to the public, it's quite hard to do. So that one wasn't a relevant one. So I looked around for other ones that I actually had of a similar sort of an ilk. And so this is what I'm sort of basing my thoughts on. So this one here is actually a app about compliance inspections for tenancy properties. I was building this for somebody and to see if they were interested, and it didn't want to take it any further. So on this one here, in Glide, you can actually give a map. You've got a date of when the inspection. You've got a pull down list of who the people are actually doing the inspection. So it's done by teams. So therefore it's locked in for this. It's got a things like, it's got a smoke detector, yes, and you see it's got a fail. If I put a yes into there, you'll see this updates on the sheet, and it'll actually just do a bit of validation to see something here. And if I'd said no, then you put a note as to why that you couldn't check something wasn't working or whatever. Is there installation certificate on the property? Yes. If there was no, then suddenly you're given a whole lot of different alternatives, so you've got to go and work out the R value and things like that. Is there a heater in the place or a heat pump or something? Yes. Then you can actually take a photo and upload a photo of it. So you can say, yep, I've got a photo of that. Here it is, proof of what we've actually got. Then you can add a note of maybe you've taken a photo of the base plate or of the unit overall, or you want to give a bit of information on the model or the type of whatever it is. Then it goes through and does the other ones, and you can do validation. You can actually add other images. And then right at the end, I was going to add an upload of maybe 15 images or something like that. Now, this is something that Glide app now actually has, and they've been going through it for about 14, 16 months, and their app's quite robust. At the beginning, they didn't have this. So the solution that I actually did, and that was actually on a defects app. So what I did for them is that I actually used the notion of a form. So on this app here, if we just go and look at the app up the top, where I can actually say link onto that, it takes you to a form. And in the form, you come down and you choose which project it's on. So we're going to choose project. And this one, we thought of thinking that the images are based on what room you're going into. You can say the images are about the images or something like that or whatever. And we're just going to say room 2, and we're going to say porch or something. just some information there. Then we can upload some files. Now it's told us on here, I'm telling them that only you can upload 5 files. So we're just going to go and select 5 files. 3, 4, 5. And then we open and those get uploaded. And then we go upload. Yes, those are the files we want. It says if you add more, it just said no, we can't add this number of files, bugger off. And when it and then you once it's uploaded, it's now uploaded to this point, you then have to submit the form. So it's pushed those images to to my Google Drive. So it's on my Google Drive. Now this is another important thing about the Google Drive thing at this point in time. Where the images are actually kept, if we go down to here, there's a form with the responses and it's got images all the way through there. So they actually break them down by, I think, each step or something like that. But what you've got to do on the other higher level, I'm just going to go up to one level here, you've got to go and share this. And you've got to give people, anyone with the link can either can copy the link or anyone with a link can view or they can edit. So that means, if they view already, I don't really care either. So once you've got to make sure that they can view minimum, otherwise it just blocks. It means those files are there, but you can't actually access them. So that's what's actually happening. And then it comes up and then it puts another row of data onto the thing. So it's put it into this spreadsheet. So then we'd actually have to copy it across to our table inside things. So this is the manual part, but before we do that, I just want to go through and talk about the form, because if you're familiar with the AWS, you may not be familiar with Google Sheets, you might be experienced with Excel. So inside the tools, you can create a form. So we're going to create a form here. I just want to do one thing before I create a form. I want to show you how to delete a form. If you want to delete a form, if I just try and delete this form now and go delete, I'll go, yeah. And it says, no, you can't delete it because it's linked. So you've got to go onto that form, be on that particular tab, unlink that form, and then you say there, yeah, and then you go delete, and you can delete it. Boom. So we do that. So now let's build a new form. So we go into the tools, we're going to create a form. And I'm just going to close down all my other forms at this point in time. And then we go back to there and we go on to our new tab where the new form is. So this is the form response, which is, it's created a new tab on our sheet. And then we go into the form and we go edit form. Now when we edit form here, we can give a description, images or dash files, because I will highlight some stuff about that later. So in here we're going to ask the question, what project number? And I want multiple choice. It goes to answer, and then I'm going to change it back to multiple choice, and I'm going to go A, B, C, D, and guess what? E. So we've got those, and I'm going to make that a requirement just to make sure we're putting the photos against a specific project. We're going to add another question. On this one, we're going to just put room num name, just for something to do, and we just want that as a short answer through there, and we want that required because we want to be specific about where those images are. Because if somebody hasn't been to that property and they see them later, they might be confusing. We're now going to add a third thing, which is going to be the file uploads. Now we're going to go into the file uploads, and we've got a few little choices through here. So upload 5 max files, upload. And in here, you can, and now it's going to upload to my drive. So you've got to share your drive. If you're working with a whole lot of people in the team, you've got to share your drive, that particular subfolder with them so that they can access that spreadsheet, so they can copy that row across into the other one. So in here, we can allow specific types. So we can upload videos, we can upload images, we can upload audio files. So we're limiting the file upload types of PDF. So you may have done a sketch in the property and you've just taken a photo and you want to upload that, or else you've got a PDF that you can mark up. You've got a special PDF mark up everything, and then you upload that PDF afterwards. And we're going to say maximum number of files is 5. Now, because this is a mobile app, you're going to be on cellular data, so you don't want big file sizes, otherwise you'll be sitting there all required. And you'll be sitting there for ages. So we do want that required because there's this whole raison d'etre of the thing. So now we go to send. Now we can send this to everybody via an email. We can do collect email addresses, and this is what I started doing, but in fact it's not a useful thing to do. The best thing to do is actually just have another pull down list of, like, instead of project, of all of the people in the team, so that you know who's done a specific inspection. So what we're going to do is going to use the link, and we can shorten the URL there, and now we can copy the link through there. So now we've copied that, we can now just close that down, so that's a built one there, and now we can actually go and fill out that form. So here we're opening up the forms from scratch, and we're going to go into Project C, room number is 1 and utility, and we're going to say we're going to upload 5 files maximum, and because we've actually said if we got different types of files, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's just do 5 and go open. And we got the 5 files, we upload those. It uploads 3 at a time, and then it uploads the other 2. And then push, bump, as that one goes. And now that propagates into our new form here. So this one had come through with the timestamp. So it's handy to have the timestamp as well. Now this is where the issues start to get a bit funny. It's brought the 5 files in, but it's brought them all in under one cell. So if I just copy one of those before the comma and put it on its own, V, you see I can now actually go and open that file. Boom. But they're all stringified together. So what we can do is we can use this formula, split, open brackets, that cell there, comma, and split by comma, and close brackets. And now it splits it into 5 separate files. So we can call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're the 5 separate files that we've got them there. So that's really handy. But what happens when the next form comes in? We need to propagate this formula across there. So we need this formula to array down here. So there's a formula called, I'm always getting that in the wrong positions, array formula, and then open brackets there and close brackets there. And now it's not doing that. I don't know why that. Now I've done that before. Now I'm just going to go into the other one and nick that formula. In fact, no, I just go into my split sheet because, and I'm just going to use that formula here. I don't know why that's doing that odd thing there. I'm just going to put that one in there. Oh, so there are. You know why? I'll go back to that one, and if I just go Z, let's just do an undo and undo. What I've done is I should be doing D2 to D. That means do it all the way down. Now, if I actually add the array formula, open brackets and close brackets, it starts spitting all of those down. So it's starting to put values all the way through. So it's broken and it's actually disrupting. So next time it's trying to look for an empty cell, it's got to go down to row 1000. So it can be bloody irritating. So what you've actually got to do with this one is I'm just going to copy and paste it because it takes, and I'll just explain it when going there. Is I just go into that formula there and I use array formula. If is blank A2 to A, so from A2 to A down to infinity down there. If it's blank, if that's true, then just put blank in there. If it's not true, put the formula in there. So that means it'll only put the formula in if there's something in the row. So if I put a number in there, it will start trying to put the formula in there. But it has got it. So if I had actually put that row down there and I pasted that into there, it would then go and automatically do. So just be aware of that one. It is a bit of a funny. So that's actually how you make that one there work. So once we've got that, what we can then do is we've got all of the headers through here, and we just copy those headers across and create a CSV file and import those into Honeycode. So we make a new app with those headers in, because what we want is that we want the templates to be identical, so that when we actually propagate more rows of information, we can actually just copy a couple of rows, bits of data, down to 5, we'll say through there, and then we can go into here, and then we can add a couple of rows, and go and click on there, and go V. and paste that information into there. So there is that manual process where I've got to cut from here inside my Google Sheet, and I've got to paste it inside here. Hopefully later on, they will come up with a really good uploading images one. At this point in time, it works. There is a manual step thing, but what it then gives you is that inside the app, everybody has access to those images. And so you'd actually have a bit of an explanation as to what those images are about. Unfortunately, so you've just got to click on each one to actually view. Again, if you're doing something remote and you take a video, maybe an audio file's not too big, so you might be able to do a verbal report on certain issues and the things. So that might be handy to have. And you might, but you wouldn't really do a video because it takes too long to upload. You come back to the office and upload those sorts of things, in my opinion, because it's the sorts of things can be difficult with that sort of stuff. So that brings it into there. So now we actually have the table and we have the data now brought into the table. Now, what I've actually done is that I've just found the inside the form. I just go and edit the form through there. I've just gone into the send. I found the link. I found the shortened link through to there, and I've just copied and I paste that into here in the forms, just so that it's accessible inside my Honeycode app. So the next point of the exercise is to actually just go and duplicate this tab, because I like my spreadsheet. This I do find, you go and click on this button here and you lose your spreadsheet. I find, your table I find quite irritating, even though I'm just going to rename that images 5, just so that we can build an app from scratch. And in here, I'm going to build an app from scratch and use the app wizard coming through here. So we're going to choose a table and it's going to be images and things which we don't want. Now, one of the ones when I first started off, these are the ones that automatically set up with. So you were trying to do a lookup. When you ended up with the second one, you were doing a lookup on the timestamp, which was really irritating. So I just said, get rid of the timestamp, then you're looking up by project, or else you could move that to the first place for doing the lookups, but that would be a filtering things. You don't want the upload, you don't want the 5 files, you don't want the email address, although that might be the user or the person who does the inspection, and we're just going to add these other columns. So we want column 2, 3, 4. This is exciting stuff, isn't it? 5. There we go. So we've got those ones through there, and the settings, we don't need the other 2 sheets because we're not doing an input sheet. All we're doing, and so we'll actually apply that. So we'll actually just create that app now. Boom. So there we've got the actual app, and then we're going to view the app, and that's images 4. We don't want images 4. We're working on images, and we don't want images 5 either. We're now on the images. So that's that. So I've now got to go and make another copy of that, duplicate that tab there, and then I will go through to the new built app there. Now, you could, the idea is to have this as part of your console of actually look at your sheet down here, but it obscures the screen, so I actually find it not very usable. I prefer just jumping between the tabs. So when you actually open up the builder, it would be nice if it opened up in another tab, in my opinion. Anyway, we've got that data through there. We've got the images stuff built through there. The one thing that we need to add to this object through there is a content box. So we'll add a content box, and we just drag that block up to the top. Now you could beautify all of this, and I'm not interested in that. Then we can actually just come back to our image, go and get that link through there, and put that into there. There we go. And we now, if we just go and view the app, we now have the app. You put a bit of note or something on the front of that one. I'm not interested, and there you've got it. So that's the process that I've used and it's really an interim way of actually just getting images pulling up into Honeycode. So it allows you to start planning about going and doing inspection app, because one of the things with the inspections is normally it's an inspection app or you're doing a defects app. One of the apps that I'd built on Glide was I actually had an app and it was associated with the project manager who managed the actual sheets themselves. Oh, sorry. Now, another thing that I did want to say with that app is that you'd actually have to make sure that all of your team, when you came to here, all of your team had access. So you've got to have access to the sheet, because they've got to cut and paste between this as well as cutting and pasting between the Google Sheet as well. So that has to be accessible to your team. So not the ideal. So sorry, I was actually talking about the defects list. So I had a defects list, and what I actually had was the project manager. He was controlling this. So anytime anybody found a fault or something like that, they'd send him an email, they'd have a photo of, oh, look, a tap's broken. And then he would actually, the rest of the team would have the app, and he would then email, or he would then put that defect on there. And then when that, and it would show the photo of the defect. And then when somebody repaired that defect, they would have a little switch which would just say, yes, that defect switched. Is fixed now, so that would then be put on the list of somebody can go around and inspect and confirm. So then there would be a confirmation point of view of either by the designers who would go and, some of the times you'd actually have the architects going and identifying failures or defects, and so they would be doing it, and the engineers, they would be giving it to the project manager who would put it out there and distribute it amongst his team. They would actually put a switch saying yes, it was there. He would then pass it back on to the architects and the engineers, just so that they would sign off to say yes, that's acceptable, that defect's now gone. So it's a way of managing things, and the images was the way that you could do that. So that is a process. So you can use it for defects lists. You can do it for your images are bloody useful all the way through in a whole lot of data. If you're doing something like an Instagram sort of an app, although you wouldn't really in amongst a team, but that's a place that you wanted. But again, with that form process, that's just not limited to, as you saw when we were doing the setup with that form. Are we in the edit mode on that one? No, we're not in the edit mode. So if I just come back to that form, again, when you're actually uploading in amongst your teams, the other method that you might be using that form to do, sorry, let's go and edit that form there. This one through here, you may have a presentation form that everybody's working on, or a document that everybody's working on, and it's uploaded into that one location so that everybody can actually work on it at that point in time. So it's within that app. So you built an app specifically just because, again, you can do millions and millions of apps. So if you've actually just got a small project that a lot of people are doing, and underneath you can actually upload that thing, you've got that form in there or that document in there, and so it's a live document that is accessible by everybody on that app, and then you can do it. So that's a way of doing it. So you can actually just go to that link, go and use it, go and do an update, and then you can actually add another row of information just saying, I've altered this, I think this needs to happen, or some other commentary outside the thing. Especially on something like a presentation, I think that would actually work. So I think there's a reason for not necessarily just images files, but you can use this tool in another method as well. Anyway, I hope that's been of interest to you. Thank you very much for watching. If you found it handy, can you please give a thumbs up? Otherwise, op panyaha.